He destroyed 800 monasteries, sent the most respected men in England to the scaffold, built a machine of legal terror so perfect, it only needed one thing to turn on him: a king who changed his mind. He built the scaffold. He sharpened the axe. He wrote the laws that made it all legal. One morning in 1540, he walked up the same steps. The axe was still sharp. The laws were still his. England, 1530. A country on the edge of the most dramatic transformation in its history. The king wanted a divorce. The Pope said no. And one man saw the opportunity of a lifetime. His name was Thomas Cromwell, and he was nobody. Until he wasn't. Thomas Cromwell was the son of a blacksmith from Putney. No noble blood, no family connections, no inherited title. What he had was a mind that processed power the way other men process air. Naturally, constantly, without effort. He spent years in Europe, learned how the Catholic Church actually operated, its finances, its politics, its vulnerabilities. He came back to England knowing things no English lawyer was supposed to know. Henry VIII wanted one thing: a divorce from Catherine of Aragon. The Pope refused. Every lawyer in England said it was impossible. Cromwell looked at the problem and saw something different. What if England simply stopped answering to Rome? What if the king became the head of the church? It was the most radical idea in English history. Cromwell made it happen, and to make it happen, he needed to remove anyone who stood in the way. Thomas More refused to sign the Act of Supremacy. The most respected man in England, scholar, statesman, former Lord Chancellor. Cromwell built the legal case against him, personally. More was executed in 1535. Bishop John Fisher executed the same year. Cromwell had given Henry the legal tools to kill anyone who disagreed. He was proud of the precision of those tools. He had no reason yet to think about them differently. Between 1536 and 1541, Cromwell dissolved over 800 monasteries, the greatest transfer of property in English history. The wealth went to the crown, the land went to loyal nobles. The hospitals closed. The poor lost the only social safety net they had ever known. Thousands of monks turned out onto the roads. Cromwell executed it all with perfect efficiency. He was not cruel about it. He was methodical. And methodical, as we have seen before in this series, is far more effective than cruel. By 1539, Thomas Cromwell was Earl of Essex, Lord Privy Seal, Vicar General of the Church of England, the son of a blacksmith, now the second most powerful man in the country. He had served the king faithfully for a decade. He had given Henry everything he asked for. And then, he made one mistake. He forgot the first rule of serving powerful men. They do not forgive you for their own disappointments. Cromwell had arranged Henry's fourth marriage, to Anne of Cleves. He had seen her portrait. He assured the king she was beautiful. When Anne arrived in January 1540, Henry took one look at her and called her a Flemish mare. The marriage was annulled in 6 months, and Henry needed someone to blame. He always needed someone to blame. This time, the someone was Cromwell. In April 1540, Cromwell was arrested, charged with treason and heresy. The man who had served the king for a decade. The man who had built the Church of England. The man who had given Henry the legal tools to destroy anyone. Arrested by the king he had made, using the tools he had built. The machine had turned, and Cromwell, for the first time in his life, had no answer. From the Tower, Cromwell wrote to Henry. He called himself the most miserable prisoner in the world. He reminded Henry of 10 years of faithful service. He wrote, "I have always been most faithful, most true." Henry read every word. Then he picked up his quill and signed the execution order, without hesitation. The machine Cromwell had built worked perfectly. It always had. Thomas Cromwell was executed on Tower Hill On the 28th of July, 1540, he was approximately 55 years old. The execution was botched. The axeman took multiple blows. Henry VIII married Catherine Howard the same day. Within months, Henry regretted ordering Cromwell's death. He called him the most faithful servant he had ever had. But Cromwell was already gone, and Henry, true to form, began the process of making sure history remembered it his way. The face of a man who was supposed to disappear, looking at you with the same eyes he used to look at kings. He didn't lose, he was deleted by the king he built, using the tools he created. He gave Henry VIII everything: the church, the wealth, the power, the legal machine to destroy anyone. And Henry used that machine on him. He built the machine. He just never imagined being the one fed into it. Subscribe. Episode 4, Elizabeth O'Farrell, the woman who negotiated the surrender of the Easter Rising. Then someone cropped her out of the photo. Don't miss it.